Happy Saturday from LSUODYSSEY.com. I'm your host, Lon Phillips Sullivan. How's everybody doing? Is everybody in? We've got this hoodie, birthday present from my brother. We got this a while back, around the time of the first Washington-Philadelphia games. We've been Washington fans our entire lives, as well as LSU fans. But it's so incredible because LSU has been able to have quarterbacks, been able to have championships, even when they didn't have the best quarterbacks in the college football. They've been able to go on runs. They've been able to really have success doing it defensively, doing all these things with these external elements that didn't necessarily require a gunslinger dominant quarterback, And Washington just simply never had a quarterback. My God. We had the best quarterbacks of this era before the pre-JD5 era for Washington. We'll have to go with Mark Brunell, who got us to the second, the divisional playoff. He trails RG3, who's I think RG3 would be the number one because he was so damn good as a rookie before that injury, before that Haloti Ngata helmet to his knee took him out. Had that not happened, we're really talking about RG3, setting this all up, setting the table for the Jaden Daniels era. But it wasn't to be. Washington goes back into the quarterback wilderness. It is absurd how many quarterbacks Washington had. Brad Johnson, Max Johnson. Remember LSU Tiger starting quarterback Max Johnson? Wasn't too long ago, guys. 2020, 2021. Max Johnson. Remember him? His father took Washington to the divisional playoffs, the second round of the 1999-2000 NFL playoffs, where it was a wild card win for Washington at home against Detroit, against the Lions. A second round win by a field goal. A second round loss by a missed field goal at the very end. They missed the field goal in the sun to Tampa Bay. Both opponents that Washington has had once again this postseason. Washington, playing Tampa Bay and Detroit. Very interesting. All these parallels with playing these same teams, Detroit. But now it's a first for Washington in the playoffs in my lifetime, in my era, since I was born, and kind of hey, this is football. We are into these teams. Washington was always the NFL team. And thank God they drafted guys like LaRon Landry, LSU guy as well. People, awesome players like that over the years. Perry Riley was another guy from LSU who played for Washington. But sadly, they started drafting a lot of Alabama guys. Well, luckily, when they drafted Jaden Daniels, they went back to drafting LSU guys, and it changed their franchise around, didn't it? And I think every LSU fan knew that was going to happen. I don't think every LSU fan out there would have said, hey, they're gonna beat Detroit, by double digits. They're going to go to the Super Bowl in his rookie year. He's going to win Rookie of the Year. He's going to have the greatest rookie season of all time. I don't know how many people were saying that. I don't think many were. But confidence on Jaden Daniels was very high going into the year because people knew he was going to be successful in some way, some shape, or form because of his work ethic, because of the way that he plays the game, because of his just sheer unstoppability. Averaging over a first down, 10.8 yards per play as an LSU Tiger. Disgusting statistics. the stats he put up, and then you think, okay, in Washington he might have like maybe a more 2022 type season in his rookie year, and then he'll build to greatness. And it's like, yeah, he had some struggles. He had some times where he was down and out, getting hurt. Middle of the season, Washington were losing some games. They won 12 games in the end. 12 games, being the most aggressive offense in NFL history and being very successful doing it. Completely revolutionized the game in a lot of ways. I don't think as an organization you're going to draft a non-dual threat quarterback for the rest of NFL history. It's going to be a dual threat game for the rest of time. You simply need it to beat the speed of defenses too nowadays. So I mean, it's incredible what Jaden Daniels has done. Taking Washington to the NFC Championship game is just nuts. It's tomorrow, 1 p.m. That's at least 1 p.m. Mountain Time, right? Let's make sure that. This is really crazy for me because, I mean, I guess it's crazy for everybody though. I'm just kind of thinking to myself, like, when's the last time I remember seeing like a Washington-Philadelphia playoff game? I don't. The last time I remember seeing a Washington-Philadelphia thing that affected the playoffs even was in 2005, the final game of the season, where it was basically a winner-take-all NFC East playoff play-in game, unofficially, between us and the Eagles. And Sean Taylor recovered a fumble and scooped and scored it to get us Washington getting into the playoffs that year and winning the NFC East. And at the same time, I believe eliminating the Eagles as well, or maybe not eliminating them, but making them like the final seed or something. But it was that game had a lot of crazy implications and stuff. But outside of that, I don't remember these two NFC East rivals having such a big game like this. It's going to be very intense, likely in the snow as well. And you saw how cold it was with the Eagles and the Rams. You saw how Jalen Hurts got roughed up. It's going to be 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Mountain Time for everybody. All time zones. 1 p.m. Mountain Time, my time zone. 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. On Fox as well. It's wow. This game's gonna be nuts. We're watching it at my brother's. Tell me where you're gonna be watching this game. I'm not as interested in the AFC title game. I want Washington to play the Chiefs because that's what I predicted before the playoffs even began, was that Washington would play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I didn't predict that because I love Washington and I just biased, but I really just think, how is anyone going to stop Jaden Daniels? I just really thought Jaden Daniels, it's going to be that year where defenses just haven't figured out a way to stop him. Maybe they do next year, and maybe he has an off year next year. Maybe he has a year where he gets rattled and he gets hurt, The team lose a couple guys to injury, things, collapse in on themselves. But for this year, for right now, it's hard to see how any team stops him. But if there's going to be a team that does it, it's going to be Philadelphia. I see Washington. If we get past Philadelphia, it is our Super Bowl to lose. Because simply the Chiefs, yes, they have some great, fantastic players. Especially, you're looking at a team that has done this year in, year out. You've got a guy like Chris Jones. You've got a guy like Chris Jones on your defensive line who continuously makes big play after big play. That's a guy who could get into Jaden Daniels' head and kind of try and figure him out and be like kind of a D-line spy on Daniels, something like that. And I could see some type of effectiveness with that. But here's the thing. You need speed on the edge, and you need brutality through the middle to stop Jaden Daniels. So you need the combination, and you really need speed everywhere. Actually, take that back. You need speed everywhere to stop Jaden Daniels. And the Lions are one of the fastest defenses. I mean, they were matching Jaden Daniels speed for speed early in that game, right? And then you saw when Washington got that pick six, their defense was able to really just like relax, settle down, and then the offense was able to really control the game as well. It just completely gave them the upper hand in every respect in every phase of the game. And Jaden Daniels, you saw him physically wear down that defense, and then by the end of that game, they could not stop Jaden Daniels. He was just simply too fast, too furious, and he was making too many big plays with his feet and his arm. It was just a devastating football from Jaden Daniels. Put up 45 points inside Detroit, inside Ford Field. But, it's not good enough just to get to the NFC title game for us, whether you're an LSU fan who just really wants to see Jaden Daniels win a Super Bowl right now, or if you're a diehard Washington fan, whatever, or if you're both, which I'm lucky enough to be an LSU fan and a Washington fan. You want to see the best play the best. Jaden Daniels versus Patrick Mahomes, that's must-see TV. That's must-see TV. And Jaden Daniels versus the Chiefs defense, who, they've had a better season in the last few years for the Chiefs, but they're still capable of getting roasted. Could Jaden Daniels and Pat Mahomes find themselves in a, cat and mouse offensive juggernaut shootout? Because that would be glorious. But we're not even there yet. I'm getting far ahead. This game between Washington and Philadelphia is almost like a mini Super Bowl, because whoever wins this is truly like the best team in the NFL. I know the Chiefs have gotten lucky. The Chiefs have won a lot of games. The Chiefs are the number one seed on the AFC side. All this stuff. They've been that way for years. We get it. They've retooled it in this way and that way. They've evolved. They've done these subtle evolutions, blah, blah, blah. They're still a very flawed team that they're beatable. We've seen it in Super Bowls where they've lost. We've seen it in Super Bowls where they've gotten lucky like they did against the Eagles. And so are the Eagles going to be kind of like hell or high water? This Washington team isn't coming into our house and taking this chance for vengeance away from us. Because it's likely, I'm not going to count the Bills out of it, because you can't count the Bills out of this. The Bills lost in the divisional playoffs for like the last 3 years or something. They finally got over that hump. They're going back to Arrowhead. They're another team with vengeance on their mind. Could it be Bills Eagles in the Super Bowl? That's like the last. That's the last thing I want. That's the last matchup I want. Still would watch it probably, but the last matchup I would want. So let's hope we get that Washington Chiefs matchup at the end of proceedings tomorrow. But it's going to be former LSU Heisman winner Jaden Daniels playing for the Washington Commanders, which I hate that name. I wish they would have changed it to something else, but whatever. Washington Commanders at Lincoln Financial Field in the snow. In the snow, the falling snow. This is going to be nuts. This is going to be crazy. Lincoln Financial Field. Washington has won 36-33 against the Eagles, and then lost, I believe it was 33-18, something like that, earlier this year. It was that game was not good. That one, I remember watching that at my brother's place, and it was like, oh man, like we're just losing. Yeah, 26-18. That was the last. That was in Lincoln Financial Field, and I remember talking to my brother Jess and telling him, like, bro, we're likely gonna, if we're gonna get to the Super Bowl, we're gonna have to go through this place, you know? Like, and I remember Jess was like, well, the Eagles haven't had a good year, man. Like, it's still far from, settled. Like, the Eagles have been really shitty. And sure enough, the Eagles go on a really good run. NFC teams kind of cannibalize each other, and they get that seed. And I'm not going to say Lincoln Financial Field is some impenetrable, palace of doom. I think Washington can do it. But I would definitely rather have this game be at FedEx Field, obviously. Let's see what Philadelphia's record in championship games at Lincoln Financial Field is, because McNabb took them to so many NFC championship games. NFC championship game. Okay. What I love about this is it will say the list and it will show where it was at. Okay, so the first NFC championship game, Dallas, San Francisco, first two. Washington played Dallas in the 72 NFC championship game. We won that, and then we ended up losing that Super Bowl to the undefeated Miami Dolphins. Minnesota, Dallas, they beat Dallas. Minnesota beats LA. Dallas finally gets in there, 75 over the Rams. The Rams lose the next two. So it's like Rams, Minnesota, LA, and Dallas kind of like all in this like clusterfuck. Minnesota, LA, Dallas, back and forth, back and forth. I knew it. Philadelphia does not get in there until 1980. Okay, the first one, this is with Ron Jaworski at quarterback. They win over Cowboys 20-7. That's in Veterans Stadium, so it's not Lincoln Financial Field, but we'll count it. Okay. I don't know if I don't think Lincoln Financial Field is built on the same area as Veterans Stadium, but we'll count it. Or should we count that? I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't. Okay, let's see how many times the Eagles get into this. Let's see. Washington over Detroit for that 91, and then Washington over Minnesota for another win over Denver Broncos, that one. Washington get killed by the Giants, team of destiny, that win that Super Bowl. 17-0. You can just feel the rattling of bones of LT just destroying people. 83, 24-21, Washington over San Francisco and RFK. That's so sick. 82, Washington, 31-17, RFK. They lost that Super Bowl in 83/84. They lost it in 84, early 84. They won the Super Bowl the year before when they destroyed Dallas in an NFC title game showdown. That's badass. Okay. So Washington went to a few there. The Eagles only really had that one. Okay. I didn't see any more. Philadelphia finally gets back in the hunt in 2001. They lose. Okay, I remember that game. McNabb was way young. They lose to the Kurt Warner and the St. Louis Rams juggernaut that then lost that Super Bowl as the favorite to the Patriots. That was in St. Louis, though. Okay, then they lose the next year to Tampa Bay so now they've lost one in Veterans Stadium. They're 1-1. They lose another at Lincoln Financial Field. So, okay, now it's called Lincoln Financial Field. So now they're 1-2. 1-2, and then they're 2-2. They overcome Michael Vick and the Falcons at Lincoln Financial Field. Finally, at the Super Bowl, they lose that Super Bowl to the Patriots, 2-2. Eagles lose to the Cardinals. I remember that. That was so weird. Everyone was like, McNabb, how can that happen? And that was in Arizona. Everyone thought the Eagles were going to go in there and like be resurgent and kind of pick apart the Cardinals, even though the Cardinals had this crazy season. Everyone kind of expected McNabb to go in there and kind of show who was boss, and that did not happen. I remember that score kind of flattered the Eagles, even though it was a crazy back and forth game. But the Eagles go to a bunch here. So it was 2-2. Okay, they win one over Minnesota, and then they win that Super Bowl over Tom Brady at Lincoln Financial Field. Okay. So they win one over Minnesota, destroy Minnesota at Lincoln Financial Field. Okay. Starting to freak me out. They overcome San Francisco 31-7, destroy them at Lincoln Financial Field again as well in 2022 to go and barely lose that Super Bowl to the Chiefs. Okay, and that was a Nick Sirianni team. 2018, that was 2017/18. That was a Doug Peterson team. By the way, there's some talk about Doug Peterson potentially maybe being a name rattling in the bucket for an LSU coaching position, possibly. But I don't know. I haven't really been able to find anything that was really credible there. But we'll wrap this up real quick. But yeah, so I'm worried. The last few title games, especially, that's why I didn't want to count the Veterans Stadium. Like, it's a whole different era. I want to kind of count like the new fans, the new vibe. Like, how have they been in these NFC title games? Well, in recent times, if you want to just count like the last two, they're 2-0, and they crushed these teams by a score of 69-14. Okay, 69-14. Crush these teams. I mean, we can go and we can count like all these, McNabb, where they let all this crazy, just sheer monkey business happening with Arizona. That should have been another chance for McNabb to win a Super Bowl. Just shit that one away. 2004, they get over the hump, but Carolina manhandles them, and they lose 3 NFC championship games in a row. 2 of them at home. They went to 4 straight NFC championship games. 5 under McNabb. 5. Six. So, okay, they are. Let's think about this real quick. One second. They are 1, 2. They're 3-4 in this era since 2001 of NFC title games. 3-4. Okay, so 3-4, but I don't really care about the other ones. They have dominated in the last few at home by a score of 69-7. The last two NFC title games. It's very worrying. Washington has to. If Washington does not cash in on these fourth down, all or nothing opportunities, if they don't cash in, they're screwed. They're screwed. Because Philadelphia will go right down there and score right down and kind of like really make you pay for that decision. But here's the thing: Nick Sirianni can be exposed for a lack of coaching. Sometimes he goes too much off of emotion. I think he's a good coach, but I think sometimes he goes way too much off of emotion, and it costs his team. But he's coaching, and he has continued to coach the Eagles, even though people thought he was going to get fired and things like that for a bit there, because frankly he deserves the job. He's proven that. So I wouldn't be shocked if Washington lose this game. It's in Philadelphia. It's in the trenches. It's a tough opponent. The defense for Philadelphia is incredible up front. And it is the defensive line that can really harass and really smash Jaden Daniels. I remember from just watching these games, Jaden Daniels getting smashed around in both of those Eagles games. I think the second one, it was better, but the first game, it was hideous how many times he got sacked, and just plain straight up hit. Luckily, he's only been sacked once over the last two games, but against Philadelphia in the second game, only one sack. Okay. In the first one, 3 were given up. But there were 8 quarterback hits in that game. 8 quarterback hits in that game on Jaden Daniels, and along with the 3 sacks. But Jaden Daniels' legs are going to make those sacks. So he'll make sacks that this play should be a sack, but then he quickly rushes away from it and gets away from it. That type of stuff. But Jaden Daniels was sacked 8 times as well. So he had 8 hits against him against Philly, 3 sacks, and he was sacked 8 times by New Orleans when Jaden Daniels squeaked out a 20-19 win in New Orleans. I mean, Washington went through a really tough schedule this year. Faced kind of a gauntlet, and Jaden Daniels passed every test and was incredible this year. So far, you really can't say anything bad about how the young man has played, how he has just dominated competition this year. It's been special. It's been special to watch. 2 years in a row now, Jaden Daniels has put up some of the craziest stat lines in football history. Like, not just college, but people can feel it. They're like, holy shit. Like, this is going to be one of those guys that you're going to talk about. Like, yeah, I got to see him play. I got to see him play a game live. I got to see him do his greatest moment. Like, you're going to have all these stories that are just going to be incredible for years and years to come with Jaden Daniels. And it's going to be a wild ride to watch his NFL career. And that's why I really hope his rookie year ends with a Super Bowl win. Because a rookie has never done it. An LSU rookie, let alone an LSU rookie quarterback, going in there and then doing that, whereas Joe Burrow did it in his second season when he only played like the first half of his first one before getting knocked out with the season-ending injury, torn ACL, meniscus, all that jazz. Like, that is such an advertisement for LSU because it's like, yeah, Joe basically did it in his first year. And then, I mean, it wasn't technically his first year, but it in a way it was. First complete year. And then Jaden, in his direct first year as a rookie, wins Washington's first playoff game since 2005. First time I'd watched my favorite NFL team in the second round of the playoffs since, I mean, we're talking, what, 2005? I mean, that's almost 20. That's basically 20. That's 20 years now. That's 20 years now. Basically 20 years ago. Like, and now you've got Washington in an NFC title game for the first time since the 1991-92 season, when Washington destroyed the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl. Could we see a Washington-Buffalo rematch like there was in 92? I hope not. I hope it's Washington and the Chiefs. But for me, this game is going to be an incredibly tough one to watch for people who are Washington fans, people who are Eagles fans. It's a tough one for me to predict. Even right now, I'm like, kind of like, what the hell am I going to predict? Because, like, I've got a score, but I don't know if that's, I'm just going to go with it. And just hope to God that this game does not go this way, and it's at least a little more not so deadly on the heart. But I'm going to predict Washington beats the Eagles 35-32 with a field goal in overtime after an interception on the Eagles' opening possession of overtime. They cash it in with a field goal, 35-32 in overtime in Lincoln Financial Field. I am predicting Washington go to the Super Bowl in Jaden Daniels' rookie season. Jaden Daniels would become the first rookie quarterback in NFL history to ever get to the Super Bowl. Or sorry, to ever play in the Super Bowl and to ever win it. There's never been a rookie quarterback who has ever even reached the Super Bowl. Rookie quarterbacks are, I believe, 0-5 in AFC or NFC title games before this. You've got Sean King from the year 2000 with Tampa Bay, the 99-2000 Bucks. They got all the way to the championship game, but then lost. Let me look that up real quick. I've got the whole stat. Of course, Brock Purdy, we know it with him in the Niners. Let me look here. That's the thing. Is this is a game that I hate games against the Eagles. They scare the shit out of me. It's just like they make it so tough. They make it so just grinding and physical and violent, and just, it's a fight. It's a battle. It's intense. What they can do up front could cause Jaden Daniels a lot of problems. But here's the thing. That injury to Jalen Hurts might be really serious. If Washington can get, just like I said against Detroit, if Washington can really get a double-digit lead, I'm talking just get it to 10 points. I'm not even talking 10 points. Even if you can just get it to 9, 8, 9 points, make them have to get a 2-point conversion to, like, as well as score. Like, if you get it to that, you can literally, like, Jaden Daniels, the whole team, like, just kind of goes, ooh, relax. You saw that at LSU, too. They'd almost relax and just know we can outscore this team, outrun, outgun. We're going to move the chains. They're not going to be able to stop us here. We're going to chew up 5 minutes of clock and just end this thing. You knew an offense led by Jaden Daniels was capable of that type of crap. It was insane. It's been nothing short of unbelievable watching what he's done. And it's for two teams that I cheer for. I'm just extremely lucky for that. I knew, Washington, we've got the second overall pick. Why don't we just draft Jaden Daniels? Like, why don't we just draft this dude and let Chicago think that they're getting the best quarterback in the draft by getting Caleb Williams, but really we're pulling off a major draft hack by getting the second overall pick, who's clearly should have been the first. So we got Washington, Jaden Daniels, moving on to the freaking Super Bowl. And I'm just going to ride with my prediction. It's going to be against the Chiefs as well. And we've got Washington winning that game over the Chiefs in our predictions before the Super Bowl. So Joe Brady staying with the Buffalo Bills. Well, of course he's going to say that ahead of their game tomorrow. If they lose, anything's possible. Then again, unless he has a contract. That's the thing is, if the Saints were to have hired Joe Brady as a head coach, I would have just been like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you guys are really in a big shit pile here. And the last thing you need is someone who's an unproven head coach to come in and take over. You need a Belichick. You need, like, how come that wasn't a call that Mickey Loomis and all these people weren't making? Like, how come that wasn't a call they weren't making? Because Belichick went to North Carolina instead. You think he wouldn't want to go to New Orleans and coach the Saints? Of course he would have. The call probably never came in because they were still stick up their ass with Dennis Allen for so long until it was too late to really make those type of calls. And Belichick got away probably. I'm not sure how that's going on, but we, yeah, whatever with that story. But yes, NFC, AFC championship games tomorrow in the afternoon, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain Time, 3 p.m. Eastern for the NFC title game, which features Jaden Daniels, JD5. Will he become the first rookie quarterback to reach a Super Bowl? Potentially the first quarterback to ever win it. We'll find out tomorrow. We are, of course, excited for that. Love this hoodie. Love this hoodie that my brother Jess got me. Thank you, Jess. My man. Also, LSU has had some staff movement. A lot of staff movement for LSU. It's almost like there's been more movement than, the White House and what Donald Trump's done within his first, all these executive orders, all the moving this, doing that, I'm not trying to say anything political. He's done a lot of stuff is what I'm trying to say. That can't be debated. He's done a lot of stuff. And so with that, there's also been, not a lot, but there's been some kind of backroom staff movement, because here's the thing. The NCAA has changed the rules, guys. Change the rules. NCAA, everyone always said, hey, well, that guy's an analyst. They're not going to use him. That guy's an analyst. Or they're not going to hire him. That guy's an analyst. Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, who cares? Oh, that's why. He can't, coach. He cannot coach the players. He cannot do this. There's so many restrictions on these analysts. And it was like, okay, I see why. I get why okay. There's certain reasons to hire analysts, certain reasons not to hire analysts, strengths or age groups, maybe a guy who's retired, maybe past his due, doesn't have the energy to quite yell at it, scream at everybody on the sidelines anymore, but he can be part of the backroom staff in the booth still, and still press the buttons as well. That's attractive for coaches. So analysts, though, now the NCAA changed the rules. Analysts now can coach the players. The only thing they can't do is recruit on campus. They can do everything else that assistant coaches can do except for recruit on campus. They can't do that. So, with that in mind, you see guys like Bob Diaco, who was a special teams coordinator basically at LSU, even though Slade Nagel was given that title, tight ends coach / special teams coordinator. Really, that was Bob Diaco. If you ever watched any of the practices or anything that film sessions, watching the games, them going to the sidelines, you see Bob Diaco's running the special teams, like the makeup and the organization of it all. Do not be mistaken by that. And so Bob Diaco leaves LSU and goes to, we just talked about him, goes to coach under Coach Bill Belichick, who's at North Carolina, which is just nuts. Belichick at UNC. Are you freaking kidding me? What kind of world do we live in? Seriously, what kind of world are we in right now where Bill Belichick is coaching college football? This is just nuts. It's mind-blowing. If you were to literally go back to like 2015 and flash forward to now, and 2019 even, before COVID, and just be like, this is what's going to happen in a few years, people would be like, no way, bro, no. Like, Nick Saban retires, Bill Belichick coaches college football. What the hell is going on? So yeah, Bob Diaco goes to coach linebackers under Belichick at UNC, right? So we need to get a special teams coordinator. Slade Nagel's gone as well. He's the tight ends coach / special teams, I'll just call him overseer. And so it's quite clear, whatever formulation Kelly wants to do this, you had to have a special teams coach. And that's what they went and did. And they got Amon Anand. And this is a former Grambling State special teams coordinator. Okay. I'll show you his page right here. Let's zoom in for you. Let's get the zoom in. Let's see. Come on, you bastard. There we go. Okay, whatever. As long as Amon's face is like up there more. Amon Anand, he's done some traveling, and it's been interesting kind of figuring out some of his roots, kind of where he came from in the game and kind of how he found his way in the game. And it's all away from like Texas Southern, where he was the running backs coach and a special teams coordinator. They led that conference in multiple categories in special teams. Let's see here. Anand also led successful special teams play by having national-ranked top 25 kickoff and punt return units in FCS football. This is at the FCS level, though. But then he was also at Baylor for 3 years. He was the assistant special teams coordinator at Baylor. Okay. And guess what? Guess who he coached under at Baylor? Dave Aranda. And Anand joined the Baylor staff following one season in a similar role at Penn State. So he was an assistant special teams coordinator at Penn State as well under James Franklin. He helped the team leading the Big Ten in blocked kicks and ranked 7th in kickoff return defense. So you're always getting you're always seeing top performances or near there, or at least rising special teams performances. But then you're also seeing this guy just climbing the ladder from different spots and getting more responsibility as a coach here. And so you've seen him as a graduate assistant. He's at Utah State 2016 to 2017, Memphis 2018, Northern Arizona 2015. He was a student assistant coach at South Dakota School of Mines and Technology. South Dakota School of Mines and Technology. And he has got a master's degree in educational leadership at Northern Arizona University. This is a learned man. This is a smart dude. This is a guy who's got credentials. This is a guy who's coached at Penn State with James Franklin. He's coached under Dave Aranda at Baylor, had success there, had success with Nittany Lions, had success in the SWAC. He had success with the FCS. Grambling State, this is just a year that he's been at Grambling State, and now he is hired at LSU. Is he just going to be an analyst? Is he going to be in an on-field role? That's something we cannot say we know yet. Everything I have tried to, because we're not just like so self-absorbed that we think only we get information and only we have sources. We keep our ear to the ground to what other people are putting out there as well. And I haven't heard anybody say that they have any knowledge or even hinting that they have knowledge about him being just an analyst or if he's going to be an on-field role. Because here's the thing, LSU only has one more position on field that they can do, but they can hire, I think, as many analysts as they want, right? So LSU should just retain him as an analyst and let him just run the special teams anyway. And he seems like someone who is adept at running special teams for multiple years, adept at running special teams in multiple environments with multiple kind of squads of guys, talent levels as well. Here's the thing though, and it shouldn't be this difficult because I've seen great coaching in action. I've seen great coaching like in my own life. For me, I've seen bad coaching as well. So it's like, it's easy for me to point it out and call it out. Like, you're just not giving enough effort. You just don't give a shit. Like, you're just love the title. We've seen that with certain coaches. If this 2025 staff, all of these guys go out there just willing, able, ready to get the best out of the talent that's around them that they've got, this team could win a national championship. If a two-loss Ohio State team just won a national championship, I mean, my God. Two-loss Ohio State just wins a national championship. LSU weren't even in the damn thing. How does that happen? How can we make that where LSU are always competing for this? LSU are never at home watching a team, no, let alone two teams who don't even deserve to be competing for the shit, talking their way to this game and then really putting on a drab performance, poor ratings, getting their asses kicked. You know, hires like this are a way to get back and kind of bridge where this next season is going to be. Because LSU, yes, they've lost some big talent. They're going to lose some big talent in this upcoming draft. Will Campbell, Emory Jones, your bookend tackles up front, your two interior O-linemen up front, 4 of your starting 5 offensive linemen. You don't start anywhere else but there. Kyron Lacey, no more. Number 1 receiver, out of the picture, legal situations, and the NFL. Mason Taylor, your starting tight end. Braden Swinson, your leading sack man. Savion Jones, your second leading sack man. LSU are losing the biggest pieces you can have for an offense. The protection, the ability to run the football, at least the ability for pass protection from those guys. And don't tell me that some other guys are going to be, suddenly so much better than running the football than Will Campbell or Emory Jones could have been. But we had who we had on the interior. We basically had 2 former tackles playing at each guard position. Dellinger and Frazier. Watch. I guarantee you both of those guys will be playing tackle at the NFL level. Maybe not Dellinger, but Frazier for sure. It's a very interesting hire here. Amon Anand, and you're going to wonder who's going to come next. Who's going to come next? Who's going to leave LSU next? There's a few things that I do know that we can't reveal because these things haven't been signed yet. And we're just simply not going to put them out there until it's done and it's like, okay, all right. And sometimes a place like Football Scoop finds out that it's been signed before we do. And so they run with it and go with it and break that news first, as they did with the hiring of Amon Anand. But there's some spots on this staff that people aren't thinking about, roles on this staff that people aren't thinking about. They keep thinking you must mean this guy. You must mean this position. You must mean this role. And it's like, I don't want to say what the role is because it would be a straight giveaway. But like, my God, come on, guys, this is right in your face. But I think LSU fans should be excited by this one. I don't know. I am, at least. But we'll see when that gets signed and finished. And it sucks that the weekend has come, but hopefully that will. No, it's great that the weekend's come because then we get the weekend. But I mean, it sucks for this contract being signed that the weekend comes. But LSU 2025 outlook. How is LSU looking this 2025 season? And it's like, you've got the staff, in my opinion. I feel like all the pieces are there in the staff. I feel like there's one little piece to the staff that you can add, and that's someone offensively to help Joe Sloan. Who can come onto that staff and help Joe Sloan solidify his place as offensive coordinator and quarterback dynamo and really take Nussmeier to the next level? Because LSU just did unbelievable work in the transfer portal. Nick Anderson, Barian Brown at receiver. Our receiving core is going to be disgusting, guys. Not to mention, Joe Sloan finally figured out that Trades Green is a red zone dominator. And guess who is seemingly unstoppable in the red zone now? You think Nussmeier's going to care if Trades already has 4 touchdowns in the red zone and he's going to throw it somewhere? No, he's going to get him his 5th. And Nuss is just going to put up gross stats. Like, this team has a chance to be really successful because every hole, this is going to sound kind of gross, but every hole that LSU has had this offseason, they've filled. They've they've gone and solved. They've literally like, hey, we need to go get some dynamite in the receiving corps. And not just guys, not some guys who put up some numbers even, but guys who can take over games like a Nick Anderson or a Barian Brown, you know. You can argue that we still need another safety. You can argue that we still need another defensive tackle or two. You can argue maybe they haven't fulfilled the quest totally there. And I would agree because defensive tackle still looks thin and looks very reliant on young talent. Dominic McKinley, Ahmad Bro are going to have to really play a lot of reps over the next few years. And if you think about it, for a true freshman, under Brian Kelly especially, they already have. McKinley, not as much as Bro. Bro has played the most of any of the freshmen. Outside of I think Devon Keys, I think he's played the most of any freshman. Yeah. But really, this team, 2025, LSU really put some pieces together from the transfer portal that it's not just adding a bunch of talent. It's really, can this talent be complementary to the pieces we already have? That's when you win a championship through the portal. Getting Joe Burrow was the perfect ignition for guys like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Terrace Marshall, Thad Moss, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They fed off that guy and reached another, complete another level than they ever thought that was there. Maybe they knew it was there, but Joe helped them get there. They helped Joe get there. And that's why getting guys like Patrick Payton, LSU absolutely had to get some type of edge rushing help after losing Braden Swinson, Savion Jones, your 2 leading sackers. Basically all of your sacks. Literally, outside of those 2 guys, LSU had 9 sacks all of last season in the entire unit. They had 9 sacks in the entire unit and almost as many pressures as Braden Swinson had by himself. So as many sacks as Braden Swinson had all season and just about as many pressures as he had all season by himself. LSU needs help not just in the pass rushing game, but in breaking shit up, stuffing shit up in the front. And offensive line as well, correspondingly. They needed the help. Okay, so I like getting Braylon Moore and Josh Thompson aboard. I like their versatility. I like the beef and the heft that they have. But LSU needs way more help on the offensive line than just two guys. Way more help. That's just simply not going to do it. I know Brad Davis has recruited very well, and a lot of like top recruits he's signed. You know, Weston Davis, Carius Kern, Cohen Eccles. The list goes on of these really good young guys. But you're going to have to bleed in all these good young guys at the same time and hope that Chester is going to continue to develop after bleeding in his first year in a really bad way. Same with Paul Mabenga. You know, who are going to be those tackles? Tyree Adams, is he going to be one of those tackles at one of those sides? I love what I see from Tyree Adams. I think he's an early candidate for that spot. He could play left or right, Tyree Adams. Left or right. This is a mark my words though. If Brian Kelly does not make the college football playoff after this season, there is going to be serious hell to pay for him. Like 12 teams make it, Brian. And some of those teams don't deserve it. Indiana over LSU. How could LSU have let that happen? I mean, LSU was still technically in it if they had just beaten Florida, Vanderbilt, and Oklahoma. If they had just won those games, technically LSU would have been in it, right? Or at least close. Like, my God, the bar was so low this year. And it's been that way the last few years. And that's, if I was Brian Kelly, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night because there's been some major missed opportunities already in his career at LSU. He had a big opportunity. Yes, he was in a national championship game at Notre Dame, but they went in and played against an unstoppable Alabama team. That did they have Derrick Henry? Maybe not. I'm not sure whoever they had at running back was unstoppable. Whatever Alabama running back it was at that time. Was it Lacey? Eddie, was it Lacey that they had? Wow, they had so many great running backs. You know, you knew they were going to get destroyed there, but LSU, he's had these chances to really do something. His first year, they got to an SEC title game. You go in and you face Georgia. Even though you had an injured Jaden Daniels, Daniels threw for over 250 yards in that first half with 2 touchdowns. But they kept trying to run the guy and got him hurt again with Jalen Carter body slamming him. And you killed yourself with stupid turnovers in that game and special teams mistakes once again. And guess what? LSU, Georgia scored 50 points on LSU that game. LSU actually scored 30 on Georgia. Georgia's number 1 ranked defense allowed 30 points. It was a sloppy game. They allowed almost 500 passing yards between Jaden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, that's a huge opportunity. If you had just not made huge, egregious errors in that game, you may have won that game. You lost by just 20 points. You don't get a field goal blocked and returned for a touchdown. You don't get another pick that's returned to like the 5-yard line. You don't make these terrible errors. You don't get Jaden Daniels hurt. You had your backup in and you almost won that game. I mean, the game wasn't even close when Nussmeier came in. It was total garbage time. I'm not trying to paint the game differently. I'm just saying when all is counted at the very end, You only lost by 20 points. And you played that game as if you were never in it. And that's the shame. 2023, though. We all know what happened there. Matt House cost LSU a national championship with a defense that was the program's worst ever. Ever. Yes, the worst defense in forever in LSU's history. And at the same time, we had the second greatest offense in LSU history, which was correspondingly, the second greatest offense in college football history behind the 2019 LSU offense. It was so damn good. It was challenging 2019 numbers and would have potentially topped or equaled some of the 2019 numbers if they had played a few more games like the 2019 team did, not just 12. And so you had that 2023 juggernaut offense that could score at will. Jaden Daniels, look what he's doing. He's taking the Washington franchise to an NFC title game. Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. with two really shitty franchises and bad situations around them at position-wise, have put up over 1,000 yards and nearly. I think Brian for sure had double-digit touchdowns. I think Malik was like 8, 9 touchdowns, something like that. But unbelievable seasons for the second straight year from all those guys. And you had those weapons. You even had Logan Diggs running the ball well, supporting Jaden Daniels' legs. But you put Jaden Daniels in so many score fest situations where he had to be perfect. He had to make every play possible. Legs, arm, everything. 200 rushing yards, 200 passing yards in the same game type of stuff. And against Alabama, you just put him up against too many vicious hits and you let him get smashed out of the game. And it's just incredible that there's been these big opportunities for LSU to actually contend for a championship under Kelly. And we haven't even seen it. It's been right there in front of our eyes. How have we not noticed this? Like this year, if LSU had just beaten Florida, Vandy, and Oklahoma, not losing to Florida, LSU potentially could have been in the college football playoff. If LSU had not lost to what was USC's final record this year? My God, they were terrible, right? But let's see. What was their record? I remember they were god awful when I was 7-6. They were 7-6. They were 4-5 within the Big Ten Conference, and we lost to that team. If LSU doesn't lose to USC, if LSU doesn't lose to Florida, just those two games, you can get your ass spanked by A&M and Marcel Reed coming off the bench on you. No preparation on Marcel Reed. Give me a fucking break. And then you can do the same thing where you let Alabama, your governor, and this tiger fuck you in the ass on live television. You can do both of that, and you still could have made the college football playoff. If you had just beaten USC in week 1 in Vegas, the team that didn't even play well, our defense actually played very good that game and then just was out there too long, gets scored on, loses. And if you'd just beaten Florida with a freshman quarterback, like, you could have been in the college football playoff this last year. Do you realize that, guys? So this year, when you've got Nick Anderson, Patrick Payton, Braylon Moore, Berrien Brown, Tamarcus Cooley at safety, Mansour Delane at corner, Bauer Sharp and Donovan Green at tight end. When you've got all these names that have come in, Sydir Mitchell, Jack Pyburn, when you've got all these guys that have come in, Jameer Butler, when you've got all these guys that have started to assimilate within the squad, you've got to really understand here what you have. You've got we've lost some great players, yes. And I think that could be an excuse for next year if we're not successful this year. Because we did get a lot of transfers that have multiple years of eligibility with this transfer portal. And so it might not even be 2025 that's the whole, that's the year. But this is the last year for Garrett Nussmeier as a starting quarterback. Brian Kelly knows he simply must compete for a national championship, or there is going to be hell to pay from the fan base. Maybe not from Scott Woodward. Maybe not from some of the more, fearful media people who are afraid to even question the coach. Maybe from some people who, are glad with LSU not winning things, are okay with LSU being mediocre or poor. Maybe that's fine for them. But here's the thing. Brian Kelly's pressed every right button this offseason. And he pressed every right button last offseason by hiring this staff. You bring in Blake Baker. You bring in Bo freaking Davis. Kevin Peoples. Are you kidding me? Like, that's a slam dunk, slam dunk, slam dunk. You're not going to have those guys forever. It's very much a win now business already on the face of it. But Brian Kelly, he's been given so much leeway, so much time, so much patience here by everybody. And even though at the end of last season it seemed to have run out, very quickly with some strong performances in the transfer portal, which was very un-Kelly-like, throwing that money around, that was quickly evaporated, and the fan base very much on Kelly's side right now, very much loyal to Kelly, and it was very much a 180 from where the fan base was after the Florida game. Like, I cannot tell you how many texts and DMs I received from fans saying, I'm done with this guy. I'm done with LSU football. When's baseball season going to start? When's Kelly going to get fired, Lon? Just asking the most ridiculous, because that's not going to happen, and it shouldn't happen. But Kelly has been disappointing because there's been opportunities, as I just pointed out, for this team to do more than to be more than what we have been, There's been so many opportunities to really make something of this. You have Jaden Daniels, and you cashed in on the Heisman. You made sure you won that Heisman because Kelly was like, I know we're sure as hell not going to win a national championship, so we're, by over my dead corpse is Jaden not getting that Heisman. Because you knew they were going to steal that Biletnikoff from Malik, even though they only did it by one vote, which is just bullshit. Wow. A stunning comment. A stunning comment from my man, Jared Addison. What's up, Jared? Jared's been very loyal, very. I don't know how to explain it, but Jared, you're just a badass. We get a great vibe from you, and we always love when you come in and you're messaging in here. Very welcome anytime. Come on the show and talk LSU football, my man. Jared Addison says, this is a bombshell comment. I mean, but I've seen this sentiment. I think this sentiment this comment kind of explains and kind of wraps up the sentiment of the fan base in one place in a way. Jared Addison says, if we don't make the playoffs, I want Brian Kelly fired immediately. And that would be probably something around $45 to $50 million that would cost. And you would likely lose most of that staff immediately as well, though. You might be able to hang on to Corey Raymond. You might be able to hang on to like Brad Davis or Bo Davis, but those guys are probably not going to want to stay. They're probably going to want to go up. Oh, I'm not going to leave. You know, this is what coaches do. They just leave once a guy's fired. They just boom, see ya. Like, I was crazy. I thought it was crazy that we were able to retain Brad Davis from the Orgeron era. Like, Coach O hired Brad Davis in late 2021, right before the season began. And Brad Davis was only on-field coach retained by Brian Kelly in the turnover in the roster turnover. So it was very it's very obvious that Davis, you know, his pedigree has been there, and I love having Brad Davis coaching our offensive line, Bo Davis coaching our defensive line. That is just like such a sign of pride for me. Like, we have Corey Raymond back where he should be. Young upstart Jake Olson coaching the safeties. It hasn't looked so good so far, but maybe if they stop playing Major Burns, which finally he's out of eligibility, they will be. Maybe we can have a change there at safety. And I think they will. I think we've just been held hostage for some reason by a few players who really weren't that good. And for some reason, we felt like we had to play them every single snap at safety. I don't understand. And they were bad for this team and this defense. And luckily, that's not that how could I say it? That group isn't there anymore. So that's huge for LSU. A do-over at safety is huge. I don't know about 2023 being one, because it was kind of a back and forth game. But once Jaden got knocked out of the game by whatever the asshole's name was, Dallas Turner, it ceased to be a contest. You know, it's just crazy because LSU took the lead in that game late in the third quarter, late in the fourth quarter, and then Jaden Daniels gets knocked out. Jaden Daniels gets knocked out with us trailing just barely at that point because they had come back on us, scoring very quickly, of course. Jared asked, we can't even make fun of 8-4. I know, man, it's ridiculous. Because that was us this year. That was us. You know, playing a shitty bowl game, a Texas bowl, where Wet Weeks, one of our best players, playing in that game gets hurt. Like you know, it sucked the way the season ended. There's a lot of positivity the way the season ended. There's a lot of things that finally some of the coaches started to realize about the team and who they had. But there's also some things about the season that was just like, God damn, man. Like, how did we get in this position? That was like Christmas. Being able to break the news that Matt House and his entire staff was being fired was like delivering Christmas to the LSU fan base. It was beautiful. The best part is you can tell who was first by the first comments. People saying like, "Is this real?" Is it real? I love that. I had to break that news. I was like, I have to break this news. Like, I have to be the man who hunts down this evil terror and extinguishes him from whence he came. Oh my god! Because everybody kept, his house gonna stay, and I'm like, I really haven't heard anything, and people are like, well, Jordy says he's gonna stay, and Matt Moscona saying he's gonna stay. I'm like, okay. Like, I'm thinking they broke the story. He's gonna stay, okay. But I just kept my ear to the ground, and just kept on it, and I just kept asking people. And then one morning, my phone rings. I'm at work, and I missed the call, but I get a text saying, "Bro, drop everything. Go in the other room." I'm like, okay, whoa. I've gotten a few of these. When these happen, it's very good. Go in the other room, and a player's father, who's still there, star player, very well liked, very good player, says, "Bro, House and his entire staff are gone. It's signed, it's done. He's out of there." And I'm like, what? No way. I could have just run with it, but I was like, you know what? We're in the lucky position, unlike a lot of reporters, where we actually do talk to players. Let's just reach out to a few and see what they say. So I reached out to a few players, got no response about it from one, got kind of like a, I can't talk to you about that from another. And then the third, who was already going to the NFL draft at the time, still a friend of ours, was like, he gone. That was his response. I'm like, he gone. I'm like, bro, are you serious? Like, this is like a big deal. Like, I gotta get this right. Like, is he really gonna be gone? Like I've heard. And He's like, he's gone. He's gone. I'm like, whoa, okay. And we ran with that, and 10 minutes later, LSU released a press release that confirmed our news. So, you know, someone recently told us privately that we aren't. Oh God, okay, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna get into vendettas. You know what? Whoever said that about us and what they, you're right. We aren't that good sometimes. Sometimes we screw up. Sometimes we don't make the right decisions, but we never do things to just like embarrass or make people look bad or do anything with malice or try and like get one over on a bunch of people and make them look like, character assassinations and stuff like that. Like, we don't do that. We've never done that. We could have a history of doing that if we've done that, but we haven't. There's so many characters to assassinate who've actually done terrible things. The only time we've really gone on a real expedition of detailing the failings of people personally away from football has been the Title IX scandal that fell upon LSU. That's it. Title IX. That's it. And that, Darius Guys, Coach O, a bunch of people associated with it or charged by it or covering it up, whatever. And it went deep, and it was very disgraceful for years. But that's really as far as we go. And there was a recent incident. There was a recent incident involving a certain player. And I don't think we made the right move. We got some information, and it seemed accurate, of course, and it was likely. Even though the timing of it or the whatever, people can argue that it's still suggestive of the initial allegation. But the point is, it was a situation that didn't end up hurting anybody, except for the person themselves. And I don't think I made the right move in reporting that story. Is all I'll say. And we've learned from that mistake, because as fairly as we reported that, and as diligently as we went through all of the channels to make it as accurately as possible, you're still going to make some mistakes sometimes. And we did, because some things sometimes, it's hard for me to say this as a reporter who's always obsessed with breaking the news and getting that story and all this. Like, it's hard for me to say, but I know in my own career stuff I've kept off the headlines because it's like, that's not news for me to break. That is something terrible that happened, and we'll let that take its course. If someone breaks the news of that, okay, there's many events that have happened where we just, okay, we're not, we could have been the first one to break this or break that. Like, you just, in the end, I would rather let things kind of naturally take their course, and life doesn't always have to involve you know, the media. Like, it's insane that people expect the media to be so involved in your life nowadays, but that's because our information consumption is basically most of the day. That's what we do nowadays, just information consume. Man, we got off on a tangent there. I love it. This is what you get when you watch LSU Odyssey, because yeah, there's times we have a very structured, very scripted setup. And I really want everything to be very like to the T what we're going to say. There's other times like today where we have a very loose skeleton outline, and the rest, man, we just go for it. And I hope you enjoyed it, because we enjoyed talking to you all. And thank you, Jared, for commenting. And crazy that there isn't more. But it's a sleepy Saturday afternoon in the cold, so it's all good. Everybody, have a good one. Take it easy and have a good weekend. And hopefully, when we talk to you next, Washington and Jaden Daniels will be playing in a Super Bowl. Go Tigers, baby.